I know. I look like a maniac today. What can I do? I look mad. I look like some sort of lunatic professor or a member of a prog rock band from the 70s who's coming out of retirement. I don't know what it is. Hi, everybody. I'm I'm Russ Kane. This is the midday show. It's Monday. What is it? 15th, halfway through April. Yesterday, lovely weather. How many of you changed your duvets? I bet you put on your summer duvets, you put away your sweaters. Today, pissing down with rain, freezing cold. What a country. Speaking of countries, you know him. That was close. You love him. His new adverts are absolutely terrific. I love them all over social media. It looks terrific for his comedy shows. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Longie Long.
Yes, that was quite close to the edge, Russ, wasn't
close,
it?
But
you talk about the weather. I've just had
Yeah.
a Wizard of Oz. I've just had a Wizard of Oz moment.
What
I'm
happened?
sitting here in my conservatory, and I saw a gazebo flying past. I was on a Zoom call with a chap from Brighton, and literally a gazebo flew past. I said, "I'm sorry to be distracted, but a gazebo has just flown past, and I don't know where it landed. It went that way, but I'm not sure exactly where it is."
I feel today so vermushed, so confused that I actually thought you said I saw a gazelle, and for a second, I had a vision of a gazelle. Don't ask me why, flying past your window in New Malden.
That would take some really good drugs.
That would take. Well, there you go. Yesterday, says Grandpa, we were outside in the garden for my granddaughter's first birthday.
Happy birthday
so
to her.
Sweet. Happy birthday. And let's go to New York City. So good. They named it New York City. A good day for New York.
Hello, Asa. Thank you for your message.
Although he's not in the city,
later, sir.
he's in New York State, which is miles from Manhattan, of course. Barry J. Allen, afternoon. Russ and Neil.
Do you want to hear a funny story?
Yeah, you're there. You're there. You're there. Don't worry. Don't worry. Look. And Neil. See, don't want any sulking. Robert Van Buren, your mate, the horologist.
Hello,
He looks after horrors. Right. So it's a ridiculous day. Got two fabulous guests. Not one, two excellent guests today. And the first, her book has just come out. We've got to just do this. Twinned with Houston, Texas. Now she's in Guildford, probably at the Bowls Club with her mother, who's 96.
Got to watch that lifestyle, Julie. I'll catch up with you one day.
She is going wild in that Bowls Club. Wild, I tell you. They throw the car keys into a goldfish bowl and pray they get their own ones back. Right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome author and all-round good egg, Julie Cavendish.
Hello, Lucy Cavendish.
How are you? Let's do it this way. That's much better. That's
okay, great. There I am. I can see myself. I'm good. How are you? I was very funny about the gazebo flying past your window.
Literally, it was like a scene, Lucy, out of The Wizard of Oz. Suddenly, I saw a gazebo, and I'm like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, where's it going? Hopefully, it doesn't.
Did you say?
I don't know. I mean, we live in quite a quiet road, which is probably a good thing. I don't know where it ended up.
I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Did you turn around and do that?
Toto, I believe we're not.
Now, before we get on to you, we've got to talk about the horse racing portrait behind you, because that's fabulous. What is that?
Okay, that is Sindar, who won the Derby a long time ago. So years and years ago, like 20 years ago, possibly more, I moved to New York City with the father of my eldest son. Let's not, we don't need to go there. And
oh, no, we do. No. Oh, no. Oh, you don't throw us
I've
that.
only had children with men called Michael, just to make things so much easier.
Okay.
Two Michaels, four children. But anyway, this is with Michael number one. And I let a friend of mine stay in our house in Kentish Town just to look after it. And when I left, he had painted me this picture because I love horse racing, and he'd painted.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. But I had to stop loving it so much because I was getting a bit. I kept thinking I knew who was going to win.
How much you lost a fortune? Let's be honest.
I didn't.
Lost your shirt.
Well, the worst thing is when you win one. I won this great horse called Make a Stand. This is what I'm here to talk about. Anyway, I won like $5,000 on this horse at Chelsea.
Oh my God.
I know, years ago, and I'd seen it on an island, and I was like, "Oh, I've got the gift. I know what's going to win." And so I started gambling away. And of course, it's nonsense. You don't know what's going to win.
No,
and I got
it's all bullshit.
My mother had to
there's a lady called Rosemary Jessup who always gives me tips.
Ooh.
And there's two horses that I follow. One is called the Gatekeeper, which is Longie knows was the name of my first novel.
That has a ring of familiarity.
Yeah, the Gatekeeper, which sometimes does well and sometimes is still running and heading for the glue factory. And the other one is called Killer Kane, which sometimes again does well and sometimes I don't know why it bothers to turn up. Anyway, I decided the other week, because things are desperate, to go big. Go big, go large, or go home. So I went big on the Gatekeeper. It's still running. So that didn't work out too well.
What do you mean go big? I mean, what are we talking about? Thousands? Or are we talking about 20?
I bet Neil Long's house. I didn't tell him. I managed to forge the paperwork.
No.
Yeah. So that's why when he was upset seeing the gazebo fly by,
you were like,
that's where they live. That's
well, I
where
wasn't
they
upset.
live.
I was more kind of discombobulated. It's not every day you see a flying gazebo.
You're going to be living in that soon because I've sold your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to break the news to him. I thought it was. Anyway, there we are. Enough about the horse race. My father was a huge gambler, so I try not to do it because it's in my DNA.
I have a friend that used to give me horse racing tips, and he would always, without fail, back the three-legged donkey. So I knew whatever he said, do the opposite. His dad, though, is no longer with us. He was a bit better at it.
Oh,
it gets very addictive. If you have an addictive sort of personality, it gets very addictive.
Oh, I bet it can. And you have one win, you get that dopamine hit. You think, I could do that again.
Oh, yeah, it's brilliant. You walk around with like loads of money. Look what I've got. Yeah. So I had to stop. My mother was like, stop. If you continue, you won't have anyone.
Was that, and in all seriousness, was that hard for you to? Because my fear is I've become like my dad, who lost fortunes on the horses. I mean, crazy fortunes. So, was it hard for you to stop?
Yes, it was. Well, yeah, because I loved it. It was great. It was so exciting, and there's this whole clubbable thing that goes on, like, oh, I know what a this is and what a that is, and and then you've got an in with the trainers, and you've got an in with the stable boys. It's a whole world.
Oh wow!
Very
well, that's heavy duty. That's heavy duty stuff. I just look at see if I fancy the name or not.
Yeah.
And of course, the problem is, because we've done it, Neil and I've done a lot of shows about gambling addiction, etc. The problem is now you got online betting. It's not like it's real money.
No,
that's my problem.
Right. No, you're right. So now I can watch racing and enjoy it, but I just don't. I
knew we had a simpatico. Right, Lucy Cavendish, tell us what's going on, because you've got a book out and there's a whole load of other stuff.
I have.
Which is right up Neil Long's street. Seriously, Neil, you're going to love it.
Where's my book? Here is my book. Ooh.
All right, now
How to have extraordinary relationship with absolutely everybody.
Absolutely, yeah, that was my title, because the publishers came and said, would you like to write a book about relationships? Because I'm a therapist and a journalist and I've lived a life like everyone else has.
Sure.
And I said,
put
sure.
It a bit nearer the lens.
Sorry?
How to have
extraordinary relationships with absolutely everybody.
Tell us more.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
So, how do you have an extraordinary relationship with absolutely everybody?
Yeah.
Everybody. You'll be busy.
I was training with Americans. I was doing a lot of work with Americans. And they just, that's the kind of thing they would go for. That's the kind of thing they would say.
Well, because they're all mad, apart from Maisie Don Brown. They're all completely nuts. But I was thinking,
what if I'm going to have a title for a book? It's probably better to have like a big title that everyone goes,
yeah,
big, sure. Than some kind of little minuscule title.
Yeah,
that's quite a statement. Having extraordinary, I take it you mean extraordinarily good relationships with everyone.
Yeah. Maybe I should put good in there. Yes, and it's not about parenting. That's the one relationship that isn't in there, because the publishers thought that was very complicated. Which
relationships with everybody.
Yeah. So, but this isn't about your children or your parents, particularly. So it's got case studies. It's got tips. But what it has is also at the end of every chapter, it's got a quiz, because I love quizzes. So you can take your quizzes and then find out how you're doing. And there's lots of advice.
We like quizzes.
Yeah, everyone loves a quiz. That's the publisher was like, why are you doing quiz? I'm like, everybody loves a quiz. and I've had a lot of fun.
Can you share? Because I suppose the quiz is like feedback on the chapter, isn't it? So you can see how much you've integrated and absorbed. Can you share a little?
Well, would you like to
give us some of the obviously?
Would you like
give us a choice?
Okay, would you like active listening, empathy, changing the narrative, healing yourself? Where are we at? Any of those?
Why don't we put it to the audience? What would you like, dear audience?
Well, it's not democracy. This is a benevolent despotism. That's how I run things. All right. Now, what would you like? We'll start off with empathy because Neil's very empathetic.
Are you, Neil?
Neil is very empathetic.
So some people say.
I say. That's what I say. Right. I've known you a long time. How long have I known you?
Okay.
30
Here
plus
is
years?
the quiz.
Yeah.
You ready?
Here we go.
This is question
Lucy,
one.
we are ready.
Right, I'm going to let the guard down. Completely honest answers here.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm lying.
Your mother phones you.
Well, that would be a bloody miracle. She's been dead for years. How's that going to happen?
Okay, well, just imagine it's your mother.
All right, my mum phones me.
You're going to have to go for it, Russ. You're going to.
No. I get it, Luce. I get it. All right, my mother, back from the dead, phones me up.
And spends the whole conversation moaning about your mother or a sibling and how selfish she is for never coming to visit her. What do you do?
Bushy. Right, okay.
A, pretend you are listening, but actually spend the call murmuring and playing a quiz game on your phone. B, collude with her, saying you totally agree and that you also think your brother is a terrible man, brackets, even though you actually don't, because you are quite enjoying the banter.
Right.
C, let your mother know that you can really hear how lonely she is and how much you'd like to see your brother more. You acknowledge how difficult it must be for her when he doesn't visit, and you offer to speak to your brother on her behalf to express how she feels. D, burst into tears. You cannot bear how lonely she is and how selfish your brother is. It all feels too awful.
Yeah.
What's your
E?
I feel I should say C.
Hang on. Or E, wonder how they put telephone lines into Bushy Cemetery. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, so you're going for C. But is that what you're...
Well, hang on. There's a caveat here. I feel I should say C, but it depends how many times I've heard this before. If this is a regular thing, I think I would probably go into that male fix-it mode and think, well, try this, try that, try that.
Yeah, you're going...
You know what us men are like? We like to find solutions.
You do. I know.
But that's not really the point of your chapter, is it? So
no, so that's interesting, and I'm going to talk about it if you like. I have male clients, therapy clients, and they get very they find it very uncomfortable when their partners, let's say they're women, but they don't have to be women, say I'm really feeling upset and something horrible's happened at work, and they go into fixing, and the partner then doesn't like that and gets cross.
No, because the partner feels that she's not being listened to. That's Mars Venus 101, isn't it?
That is Mars Venus.
Don't try and fix, just listen. It's just when it's the constant listening without any possibility of resolution ever. And then I start to feel it's more the issue of the person who's doing the moaning, and they need to kind of find a better solution or strategy. Constantly talking about something to validate feelings is one thing. Talking over and over just because you want to moan and there's no resolution in sight, most people would find draining, in my opinion. I still think I should go for C, though. But there might be a bit of A in there.
Well, a bit of A, but I think, okay, so I think if that happens, sorry, I'm getting into advice, but actually it's perfectly valid to say to somebody, we've had this, I've heard you say this many, many times before, there doesn't seem to be a lot of action going on. You can say that. You don't want to keep listening to the same stuff endlessly. It gets really, really boring. It's really tedious.
And draining.
And draining. And you can say, do you want me to help you do something about that? If not, let's just not have this conversation again. I think that's perfectly valid.
You do?
Yeah, I do. There's a point at which you have to have an action. This book, my wonderful book, here we go again, has action in it. With each chapter, there's actions you can take.
Because if you're totally drained, then you're not putting your own oxygen mask on, so you're not much use to anyone else.
No.
See, I knew Neil would be great for this. This is right up his street. He loves this.
You're not just a receptacle for everybody's pain. People can't just kind of evacuate all over you.
Oh, I am.
Yeah, well, I know
my
you
job.
are. You're so kind.
It's good.
But it's fine to say to someone, you've told me this, 20 times before, or you've been saying this to me for the last month or two. So do you want me to help you think of some actions? If not, maybe take this to someone else because we've sort of done this.
Go.
Yeah, but I think it's
That's a
fine.
bit harsh.
There's
I
no.
thought you were so nice.
because
I
otherwise
thought
you're
you
in
were
the
so
realm of
nice
You are
and she's
being
harsh.
codependent. You're colluding with someone. not
Exactly,
doing what
exactly.
you're
Because too much of that would lead into a kind of rescuing or codependence, and that doesn't work.
That
I'm sure
doesn't
you're
work.
familiar with the drama, the concept of the drama triangle. It just does. It
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't work.
it doesn't work.
Is that on at the
You
Royal
start off as a
Court, or-
rescuer and you end up as a victim, and they become the what's the word, persecutor.
Exactly. That's your drama triangle. Oh, you've done this work before, Neil. I can tell.
I remember Triangle. It had
I'm
Kato
relatively well
Mara.
read in
It was
this.
about a ferry that kept going backwards and forwards. Anybody else remember that show? Triangle. Kato Mara. It's awful.
I don't remember.
Anyway, there we go. Yeah,
Yeah,
a long time ago.
I think you're spot on with that one. So I do think it's okay to start calling people out a bit.
Have you noticed I didn't bother to answer the question? Next
Yeah,
question, please, Lucy. I didn't answer.
Next question.
Come on, we're
Oh,
loving
here
it.
you go. Maybe this is good for you. You have a colleague you are close to and work well with. Recently, however, you have come to notice that something is going on with them. They are late to work. They don't concentrate.
Phil Dave.
And they have put up a few psychological barriers, which means you are finding it hard to talk to them. On top of
Phil
this,
Dave.
you're having to shoulder more than your fair share of the work.
Yeah.
What do you do? Contemplate talking to them but feel awkward. What can you say to them? In the end, you decide it's best not to do or say anything.
No.
Find yourself getting angry. In the end, you lose your temper, telling them to stop being so selfish and pull themselves together. C, suggest you go for coffee and then tell them you've noticed they haven't been themselves for a while and you let them know you've always valued their friendship. And if there's anything they'd like to share with you, reminding them that sharing worries can be cathartic, because you've been there. D, feel hurt and sad and very put upon, but you also feel it's your responsibility to sort it out. Maybe you've done something wrong or else your colleague would not be behaving like that. You want to apologize to them. Ooh, where are you with this one? Tumbleweed mode.
No.
Could you say though?
I'm just thinking about Phil Dave, really.
Sorry?
Could you go through those briefly again?
Okay.
Go through them again.
Talk to them, but feel.
We don't want to rush.
That's A.
Talk to them, but feel awkward.
Get angry,
but feel awkward. Yeah.
Them and tell themselves for themselves together.
No, I wouldn't do that.
No, that's right.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that. That's right.
Coffee, and then say you've noticed what's going on. Is there anything they'd like to share with you?
That's the one I feel
yes,
I should
that's a good
say.
one.
That's what you should say. Do you feel hurt and sad, but put upon? And you feel a bit responsible, and then you also feel you need to apologize to them because you feel you've done something wrong.
Sod that. I'm not apologizing for that. We're apologizing because they're not performing. I'm not going to apologize.
That's self-blame, and that doesn't work either.
Yeah, that's going down the path of it's all my fault, regardless, even though...
Yeah, I think, again, like before, I think C with a little sprinkling of A for me.
C with a sprinkling of A. Or maybe a little bit of B. You get angry and say, can you stop, pull yourself together?
No, I don't. No, if it's... It depends how bad the problem is. If you realize that you're being taken for an absolute idiot and you're doing all the heavy lifting, does this ring a bell? If you're doing all the heavy lifting and they're just sitting on their ass doing nothing and then complaining.
It depends on the context. It depends.
I get hacked off.
Doesn't it, Russ?
Yeah.
I think what you're saying, Russ, it depends on the context. Are they doing it deliberately or is there something genuinely wrong? So I think I'd like to say I would check in with them first.
Absolutely.
And ascertain if they're being a douchebag or not. And if they're not, then try and help. And if they are, I would probably put boundaries in.
Yeah. Good answer.
I'm with Neil on that. It depends how professional you want to be. I mean, these are professional commercial circumstances, which is different from friendship. It's quite different. So you want the end result to be as good as it can. And although we're only, we're a very little company, okay, with kind of silly large aspirations, but we enjoy what we do and we do it because we enjoy it. So if that enjoyment level starts to go down, I will look at it and see if there's anything that I can do of a practical nature too, but I won't get annoyed.
Good.
But you can have a conversation. But I think the thing is, you've got to work. it's great to work with people that you get on with and you really like, and that you can shortcut the conversation and don't have to dance around it and just go, hey, XYZ, is there a problem? And they go, what? And then you can just ameliorate that problem. That's okay.
Yes.
And
So
it's not personal.
You can let them know I've noticed what's going on. Is that a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're working together.
That's right.
That
is right.
It would depend on the strength of the relationship at its foundation.
Yes.
I would say. Yeah.
There may be a power dynamic as well. What if it's your boss?
There could be a power dynamic as well.
What are you going to do if it's your boss? What are you going to do? You're going to say, is there a problem, boss?
Well, mine cycles to work, so I'll probably let his tyres down.
Yeah, that's right. Just slash the tyres. Don't take half measures, Neil.
Also, the other thing, I mean, this is digressing a little bit, but a friend of mine does a lot of high-end business coaching, and what he was telling me, which is lots of people don't really see how they come across. They think they're running a really happy team, but actually, you talk to the team aren't, and I think that's very true. I mean, I think that's fine and valid. A lot of us don't really know how we come across.
That's
we don't know how we're managing people until someone comes and says, I need to talk to you about this, or can we sit down and have a coffee together? Actually, I find that you're treating me like a child, and it's sort of disempowering me.
Well, it's that balance, isn't it? Because all the studies show that if people feel valued, they will give their best work. That's definitely true. So it's a question of, authentically making people feel valued, and also
enthused,
and don't dictate as well. I've had bosses that are a bit dictatorial before, but if you
Surely not.
But if you use the phrase "will you" rather than "can you," that's quite a big one as well, because "can" implies you can't, but "will" is a request, isn't it? So
yes, it's very interesting. The language,
little nuances of language like that.
Yes, yeah.
So, will you tell us some more, Lucy? Will you give us another one, please?
Would you like another question?
Well, you certainly would. I think we're doing very well. Start again.
Your partner of many years, doesn't matter if you have a partner or not, just go with it. Has forgotten your anniversary. She/he also forgot last year and promised they'd remember this year and cook you your favorite meal. But as per usual, this hasn't happened. Do you, A, come home, then sit silently, fuming and refusing to talk? B, feel a bit upset, but then remind yourself of all the other loving things your partner does. You know they're not good at remembering, but that doesn't mean to say they don't care. C, heave a big sigh, then reluctantly reach for your bag and suggest you go out for a meal instead. D, feel terrible, let down, disappointed, and convinced this person doesn't love you.
Or E, couldn't care less.
Or
which is kind of my attitude.
Go off with someone else. Get divorced.
There is that. I like that. That's option F, which is always an option.
Yes, I've had enough of you not thinking about me. I'm off, mate.
You see, we're adding to the book. We're adding to the next print of your book,
which is how to stay angry. How to stay angry. What's the word I'm missing? How to stay angry productively. Productive anger. Radical anger. That would be very in, right?
There you go. The Americans would love that.
They love that. Radical anger, because radicals are very in word.
And then in the subtext, in the subtitle, you've got to have the phrase pissed off. So
do you?
Yeah, you do. No, Americans would love it. There you go. It's another bestseller.
How to stay pissed off productively.
Now, because that's good, because you got a little bit of alliteration there. You got a little bit. You got the pissed off and productively.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Dream team.
I'm here all week.
I would in that one, because I'd like to think, because most people have busy lives nowadays, and that's always kind of an understanding on the basis of any relationship that I have nowadays. If I think of my daughter, if she doesn't want to see me, it's not, I wouldn't get offended about it. She's got stuff to do, which I would probably want to do at her age rather than seeing my dad. I get that. I got no issue with that at all. And we have a fantastic relationship.
He does.
So I probably would try not to take it personally, but again, it would depend on the context. It would depend on the context. Yeah. Plus, I can be forgetful too. So if I do the same, I hate sort of saying you do this, because I might be saying I actually do this and you're just my mirror.
Yes.
There could be that as well. And as I get older, I'm more willing to own my part in things because I don't have the levels of self-blame that I used to. But there are people that would just be pissed off at absolutely anything that you do and they can't be pleased. And
that's true. So you would go for B, which is, well, that doesn't mean to say my daughter doesn't love me. I know she loves me. She's forgetful. She's got other things to do, and that's fine. You'd be okay with that. Yeah, you wouldn't be going into anger. You wouldn't think it's because
for my daughter, yes, because I enjoy her freedom, not her compliance.
I like that. Freedom, not compliance. There's another.
Are you
book.
making notes? Because you've practically got book 2 written now. Thanks to us.
Here's my pen.
Yeah, I know.
Freedom, not compliance is a great one.
I value her freedom, not her compliance. Definitely.
Yes. So you'll be correct answer.
For my daughter. But obviously I'm not in a romantic relationship with her.
Thank God for that. Jesus.
Well, it doesn't have to be romantic. Yeah, I like the fact you've taken and used it. Okay, it's not just about that. Obviously, this is a quiz, so there had to be a little question. But yeah, it doesn't have to be about a romantic relationship. It's going to where do you go to when something like that happens? Do you go into self-blame? Do you go into anger?
I'll be honest, it doesn't bother me at all. It just doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me.
Go into Russ territory.
It just doesn't bother. Things like that don't bother me. One of my kids never remembers a birthday ever. He never has.
I wouldn't go into anger. I probably just
I don't get angry about it. I don't care.
No, I think I would be a bit cross about that.
Would you?
Why?
Yeah, I would.
There's so much in the. You know what, Lucy? In my serious answer to you is this: there is so much in the world to be genuinely furious about. I mean, livid.
Yes.
Really important stuff. Birthdays, it's irrelevant. It's nice. And if somebody's lovely to you all year round, it's fine.
Oh,
it doesn't have to be a special day. It's like, okay, we'll do it another day. Relax. Who cares?
Now, these are the words of the wise. This man, Lucy, is very high up in the USA and Canadian mental health services and industry.
Watch it from New York State.
And we're going to have him on the show soon. And Asa, I will respond to your message later, I promise you. First job after the show. It's all about creating environments of health and respect. As a business owner, I've always left my door open for those that I've worked with. I'm a firm believer in feedback. I can imagine that, Asa, about you. Again, it's important to create an environment of healthy communication and respect. Because on that foundation, you see the good, the underlying good in people, then you can forgive the little on the surface.
But you can get a lot more done.
It depends on the baseline, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I just think, Longie, you can get a lot more done that way. You can't rule by fear anymore. That's
and I like this one from Elizabeth Green. I have 3 kids. If I'm talking to 2 out of 3, I'm winning. Yeah, I get that.
We should dedicate that Meatloaf song to you. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, Elizabeth.
That's right.
I get that. I think that's spot on. And I like the idea of, Asa was saying about feedback, healthy feedback in businesses like that. Well, I think generally it's actually a really good thing to do, to give people feedback.
If it's constructive, people say
constructive, of course. Not if it. Let me ask
you a question, Lucy Cavendish, author. Is this? People say someone so's critical. I'm going, well, there's nothing. If it's constructive criticism, when somebody says, "Do you mind if I say something?" I go, "Sure," because no one is too clever not to learn.
You are right.
You should be constantly. If somebody is just bitching and moaning and just being negative, well, that the contribution of level of that is 0. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
But if somebody's being constructive and can get round the problem, solve the problem, or move the situation on, I love constructive criticism. That's great. I don't just like criticism because you want to make yourself feel better. Pick on somebody else. I'm not your guy.
Yeah, we all know people like that, and that has no value at all. But constructive criticism and open communication and feedback, absolutely.
Yeah, and then you tell people what they've done really well. Yes, I really like the way you've done this, and I think I'm just offering you a few things that you could take on board that I think would really.
The feedback sandwich.
The feedback sandwich. So when I was training in Imago couples therapy, a lot of the feedback when you're training is, this is brilliant, even better if. That was the phrases. And you do that. I do that with couples in therapy. So what you're doing is you're creating a relationship with the positive, you know.
Yes, that allows for things to be as they are, with a view on improvement as we presumably evolve and learn and grow. And it's a positive thing. It's not like, it doesn't make you wrong where you are now. And that's where most criticism goes wrong.
Say that again? That lost me.
I'll be right until you do this. And that's when the resistance and the resentment starts, I think.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I'm blinded at the moment by handsomeness on my screen. There's handsomeness has suddenly appeared.
I know, mate. I'm sorry.
Too much handsome. As well as you, but even more handsomeness waiting in the digital green room because they're so showbiz. Unpack what you just said a second ago, Longie. Because I'm not sure I followed what you said.
If anything you're doing, when I teach my DJ students, I'll always point out the good things. It's like Lucy says, the feedback sandwich. But I love your thing even better if it allows people to be where they're at, and it's okay to be where they're at, because if you weren't where you're at, why would you have lessons? You wouldn't punish a child for going to school to learn. Of course not. But so if we see ourselves as continuous learners based on experience and feedback, if you allow yourself or anyone to be okay where they are now with a view to improvement, then they feel okay now. And people that feel okay now have no resentment, kind of going, oh, well, you're saying I'm not good enough unless I do this. No, you're more than good enough now, and even better, try this.
You could be even
and consequently, better. My two DJ students are absolutely flourishing. Thank you.
But Lucy, plug. We're almost out of time with you as our first guest.
Neuroplasticity. That's a big thing. But it's about, if you keep thinking the same thing, I'm bad, my relationship's rubbish, everything's terrible. Your strength is part of your brain that tells you the same stuff. And actually, these tell you some other stuff.
And then you will be just reinforcing that reality, which is very much self-created.
It's
and it
very
can be a
like
struggle
if you
to
sat
change these.
Staring in the mirror, saying I'm a rubbish TV producer.
It really can. It takes some discipline, I suppose, because we've all got evidence of the things that went wrong. But to say something is going to go right and put an element of faith in it, or trust, or whatever you want to call it, we've got no tangible evidence for that yet. And humans have a negativity bias.
They do. So
generally, based on a need for safety and security.
Now, I know that Neil would love you to come back. Neil would love you to come back. We'd love you to come back and give you more time. Plug your book one more time. Come on, it's not the BBC.
It's called How to Have Extraordinary Relationships.
No, show the cover. Show the cover properly. How to have extraordinary relationships with absolutely anyone. I'm sending a copy to Lizzie Cundy immediately.
There you go.
Okay. Lucy Cavendish, it's been fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Please come back.
It's been lovely to meet you, Lucy.
And lovely to meet you too. There's so much more we could say, but I know.
Well, you're going to come back. You're going to come back and do a lot more. Great. Okay, we'd love you to come back. All right, Lucy Cavendish. Ta-ra. Bye. Marvellous.
Can I tell you a quick funny story about yesterday?
Well, it depends how funny it is. Of course you can. Go on.
Okay. There's comedy and there's comedy. Now, I do open mic slots, and there's comedy open mic nights, and they will live or die as they do. Okay, they're not professional. Right. They're for people to try things out. You get works in progress. All of this, Okay. And then there's music and comedy open mic nights where people just go along and do a bit of music. And I did one of those last night. I was the only comedian in the room, so I was straight away. And it's quite rude, some of my stuff.
It's not quite. Pure filth.
So I was trying out some new songs, one of which is a parody of Begging by Frankie Valli. Just change one letter and you get where we're going with this. That. So by the time I got to that, and it has nothing to do with hanging out the washing, by the time I got to that one, there was looks of abject horror going around the room. What the local Surbiton musicians WhatsApp group says about me today, I just don't know.
It's fabulous.
There were looks of horror and looking around to each other to validate said horror.
When you're in the wrong place,
there's a couple of younger people in the audience that find it hilarious, and they're getting the comedy from watching the shock and awe on the other people's faces, and how I kept a straight face on stage. And Graham, you Right, Graham, you say that. You need to go to my YouTube channel, biffinbrothers.com, and yes, you will see that because we've already thought of that, my friend, and it's done already. So go to biffinbrothers.com and you'll see
love
it.
Matey. If you like watching disasters, my next guest, who's a very, very dear friend, has been for years and been incredibly kind to me over the years. You know those shows, and I know you like them, Neil. When TV goes horribly wrong, when interviews go horribly wrong, when celebs go raving bloody mad,
when anything goes wrong,
when sex goes wrong, when Lizzie Cundy doesn't have a new outfit on TV. This is the man who creates all of that, and he's I'm
going to like him. I know I'm going to like him.
Hello. Gosh, you make me sound like a real ambulance chaser. Wherever there's misery, I'll be there.
Let's be honest.
Oh my God. I can't believe I've made an entire living from other people's misfortune, but I have.
Well, you have.
And I'm still here.
So have we. That's what we've done. Now, I have to explain to everybody watching around the world that that up-and-coming youngster, what is he, 21, 22 now?
Plus VAT.
How old is he, really?
I can't, and you don't ask a lady her age, Russ.
You're right. It's been a while. Jess Conrad was meant to be on with Simon.
Well, I'm younger than Jess Conrad.
Well, you say so.
So is Victor Mature, and he's dead. Yes, that's one of Jess's lines.
Victor Mature, one for the kids there. Victor McLagan. Now, John Ford movies. So Jess is actually ill. He's been ill all weekend, so he won't be coming. I'm sorry.
He's got man flu, but I hope that you'll have him on another occasion.
Of course, we believe will.
I really do, because he was really looking forward to it today.
Oh, this is actually a compliment. Think of it this way: is Simon the modern day Dennis Norden?
Well, Graham, I actually thought that that Russ's intro was slightly Dennis Norden-ish because you did it in that sort of style. Although Dennis Norden,
that sort of
allegedly never said if you're one of those people. That was it.
Any more than Jim Bowen ever said super smashing lovely grey. It's one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's a myth.
I thought he did. Right, you have got a new. We're going to talk about all your TV stuff in a sec, and thanks for coming on. It's always a
having
pleasure.
Me, Russ.
So, you've got a new book, which is
Jess Conrad.
Hold it up.
Blitz to Glitz.
Hold it up closer, there we go.
Jess
from Blitz to Glitz.
Oh. Okay.
So, Jess Conrad from Blitz.
Jess is a very dear friend of mine, as you know, Russ.
He is.
I've known him for 25 years, and in lockdown, I can't remember how it came about, but somehow I agreed to help him write his book. Which, had I known how long it was going to take, perhaps I would not.
Yes, it's quite an involved event writing a book. We've talked about this already on the show.
It is, yes. All 65,000 words and finding a publisher and all of that business. So what we did was we started it off with me and a dictaphone. Cue the
gag.
Come on, Longie.
I'm just going to ignore the obvious schoolboy gag.
Exactly. Don't go for the obvious.
No, I use my finger like everyone else. Hey!
Exactly. So I used a dictaphone and it all came out gobbledygook. And Jess said, well, why have you put this bit here and that bit there? I'm like, well, that's how you sort of said it. So anyway, I thought, the actual only way to do this is for me to type out sentence by sentence as he dictated to me. So that is what I did for 3 years, almost every weekend. It was a labor of love. However, it was a passion project of mine. Not many people can say they've written a book. I mean, Russ, you've got books coming out of your elbow, but
thank God you cleaned that up, but all right.
But not many people have the patience, determination, and sort of skill to be able to put a book together. And I certainly didn't think I would, but I did. But these are Jess's words. I was sort of chief secretary, really. So I did all the stuff like digging out the pictures and giving him dates and things like that. And he'd say to me things like, oh, you know that hotel at the bottom of Park Lane? And I'd go, oh, the Hilton, no, the restaurant in the hotel, and it would turn out to be Trader Vic's or something, and I'd have to do all that research, and it was all like, finding out dates and times and places and names and just making sure everything was covered off. We'd almost finished the whole thing, And I said to him, didn't you tour South Africa with Kathy Kirby in the 60s? I said, we're going to have to write about that.
Jesus,
well,
so
you know,
random.
he did a Kathy Kirby documentary. I mean, it helped that I knew his career and know his career inside out. I think that was definitely a help because...
Can I ask you why? That's a serious question, because it's quite random, isn't it? It was like one of my Patrick Humphreys, who I was at school with. So Patrick and I have been mates since we were 13, 14, and he writes about the Beatles and the Stones and stuff like that. I get that because they're the Beatles and the Stones in the 60s, and he's a fantastic writer. Jess Conrad is quite niche. I can say
quite
that 'cause he's not on the show.
Quite niche, but first and foremost, he's a friend. And,
yes.
And he's been a friend for 25 years.
Yep.
I know the real Jess Conrad. Not many people do. And, you know, beyond the showbiz glitz, there is a person who has real stories to tell. He grew up in the war, which is all outlined in the book. He's seen some terrible things. He's been involved in the criminal underworld before he was a pop star. You know, he's got the image of the kind of boy next door drinking a glass of milk, you know, in a cornfield, as Jack Good once put it. But he's actually been a little bit on the edge of society at various points in his life, mainly the beginning, I should hasten to add, and was going kind of off the rails, really, until showbiz found him. So really, this is a book to me about... It's a showbiz story, first and foremost. There's not very much family in it. It's mainly tales and name dropping, and I met this person and that person and all of that business. I bedded Jane Mansfield. I bedded Ava Gardner.
Whoa. Did he?
Yeah.
Holy
all of that
God.
stuff.
I
Some
like
great
this.
names of Hollywood.
Jane Mansfield.
I know. And the husband called up, who was a Mr. Muscle type guy.
He was.
You know,
he was Hegarty.
Universe.
Yeah,
Hegarty.
he was. Was it Hegarty? Yeah,
something like that.
And who's Jane Mansfield's daughter? Your pop quiz starting for now.
Oh gosh, don't put me on the spot, Russ.
Oh come on, Mr. Showbiz. Who's his daughter? Law and Order.
Oh,
that's her.
Oh, there you go. Laura who? So yes, wrote the book, feeling really good about it. It's published by Oak Tree Books. It's available on Amazon, and it's a really, really good read. And as you can see from, if you're watching this as well as listening to it, it's a really nice book with lots of pictures, and it's a hardback, also available in paperback, and it just is a really good tale of showbiz. And showbiz to me is my first love, and Jess Conrad to me personifies everything that's amazing about showbiz.
There are some people who are no, I'm being quite serious, who are the embodiment of what I call the old showbiz, because most people would look round and go, and I'm not being rude, you know, you go, Alison Hammond, I can't switch on my TV without seeing Alan. There's nothing that she's not. It's incredible. You know, the agent has never heard the word overexposure. I'm sure she's lovely. No. I'm sure she's absolutely, or the word no, Alison isn't available. I mean, it is incredible. And there's very quick burnout. And you think, well, how long have you got? Because with that level of exposure, it's just nuts. And I'm sure she's not. And if I was her, I'd grab every opportunity. Good luck to her. But I mean, you don't see that as the I'm not being rude. You can pick anybody you like, really. You don't think, well, who's the last big showbiz? What have you got? Maybe Anton Deck or something like that. There's not that much that reflects. If you go back to, I suppose, the 70s, really.
I have a colleague that
Neil?
used to work with Mickey Rooney, and I put him in that category of old school
showbiz. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there only used to be a few stars. Now there's loads. That's it. That's the problem, basically. There's too many stars now, or celebrities, I should call them. There aren't that many stars, but there are too many celebrities.
There is a difference. That is a key difference. That is a key difference. You put that, very well.
Let me ask. You're right. Let me ask you this, because you are right in the heart. Joking aside, because we've known that child a long time, but your fingers on the pulse. You know this business inside out. The word celebrity is probably now, it's my own personal view, the most pointless word in the English language, along with Peace March, because it's meaningless. You can be on some show, I don't know, shagging each other island, whatever the hell it's called, and suddenly you're they go celebrity, and well, I've never heard of them. I don't know, what do they do? Well, they're on TV. Yeah, but what do they do? What's the skill?
Yes, they don't have skills. A lot of people who are famous these days, their skill is being them. And some people are them very well, but other people, are talented and don't find fame and should. So, yeah, but that's showbiz for you. I mean,
You see, somebody like Ryland, who a lot of people are kind of rude about. I saw it was on YouTube, bizarrely. I saw the best interview with Ryland I've ever seen. And I came away, my opinion was completely changed. I didn't realize how smart he was, how bright he was, how self-aware he was. And I didn't realize Ryland's not even his name. And he says, when I'm on, I'm on. And when I switch off, I'm this other guy with a different name, his real name. And he's completely content with that. And I think that's the only way to be. I really do.
Well, he's done amazingly, Ryland, and for somebody that came from a talent show to now be on radio and TV fronting shows, I mean, he's the real sort of success story, really. And Jess actually was discovered because he was an actor, then he was an extra, and then he was seen by a producer called Daphne Shadwell back in the day, who was casting a play called Rockabye Barney, and they wanted somebody to play a pop star. This was before he was a pop star, and because there were only two channels then, everybody watched it, and because he was so darned handsome, everybody said
he was ludicrously
handsome.
I mean, it's one of these things that he's like, some people go, that guy cannot be that good. They're that handsome. It's kind of George Clooney of his time.
Yeah, I feel his pain. I have that problem.
Well, you do. You can't even go out anymore. Ken has to do all your shopping, all of it. You can't be seen in little.
Exactly. So he's got a very similar story of coming from nowhere and being discovered and almost having overnight fame. But the thing that I find remarkable about Jess is the fact that he was famous in the 50s and he's been famous with certain degrees of fame throughout an 8-decade career. He was on Last Laugh in Vegas in 2018 or something.
Was that with Bobby Crush? Bobby Crush.
Bobby
was in that,
I said to him, look, you were on TV, primetime TV in like 1960, and here you are in like 2018, and you're still on primetime TV. It's amazing. Not many people have long careers. It's probably, I think the thing about celebrity is now it's probably easy to find fame because we can all be on a Come Dine With Me or a program like that, or be vox popped on the news, but it's difficult to keep fame
because they have nothing else to offer. They're one-trick ponies. And if it's this sounds sexist, forgive me, if it's some girl who's there in some tiny bikini in one of these shows, right, there's always going to be someone who's a little younger, who's a little prettier, who's whatever it might be. And so you're looking over your shoulder the whole time if you're in that situation, because it's so transparently facile and utterly pointless. But they believe it, don't they? They see, one of the things Neil and I talk about a lot is that their mistake is that when I get the Rolex, when I get the fame, when I get the celebrity, and Neil can describe it much better than me, everything will be great in my life.
It's the I'll be happy when syndrome. But it doesn't work that way. It's get happy first, and then anything else is all gravy. Because if you're not happy and then you suddenly get put in the media spotlight, it will bring up absolutely everything, and does. And that's why we see a lot of mental health issues resulting after people being on shows, because they're thrust into a world which they were ill prepared for. And it's not always the glitz and glamour that people think it is.
And some of these reality shows are exploitative as well, of course. And
the whole Jeremy Kyle thing, I mean, that was exploitation.
it's just, it's something that I've never really been interested in pursuing, that whole reality TV path. I rather have the misfortunate people in my clips who are kind of on board for the ride because they've fallen over and they're there to laugh.
Oh, that's different. People enjoy being involved. It's a subtle nuance, isn't it? But it is a thing. What's your favourite clip? Come on, tell me.
Oh, yeah. Great question.
I tell you Dennis Norden's favourite clip, because I was Dennis Norden's producer for the last sort of 4 or 5 years of his ITV career. His favourite clip was somebody being vox popped in a supermarket with a tray of food, and they say, "Are you peckish?" And the guy says, "No, I'm Turkish." And that was his that was his favorite clip. But you can picture Dennis laughing at that one. But I mean, there's so many classics from It'll Be All Right on the Night that to me, it was a program that I grew up watching. Yeah. It was must-see TV. It was 24 million viewers on ITV. Yeah. It was on at Christmas. Everybody watched it. Dennis was God to me. You know, he was there just sparingly once or twice a year because he wouldn't make lots of shows. He wanted to keep the quality threshold high. And he basically was, I think, one of the unsung heroes of TV.
Well, you used an interesting phrase there, and I think there's a lot less of it nowadays, the quality threshold.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of the time now,
you're right. What's quality TV?
We'll have some more.
I do think Harry Hill did quite a good job at it with his TV burp. Did you like Harry Hill? I do.
Oh, love that. Well, Harry Hill is a talent. You know, he's got a talent for comedy, obviously, and for making making something that isn't actually funny. You know, that's the key. That's the thing about Harry Hill. The clips without him are not funny.
I saw him doing his stand-up, Simon, in New Malden. And the first time, I just didn't get it. He was headlining, and I did not get it. And then the second time, I saw he was on again, and then I got it. I just got it. Yeah, and the penny dropped, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I get this.
That's what he's doing. I mean, it's sort of surreal comedy, but he is
to the extreme.
He is the best at it, you know?
Why is it that, this is a difficult question, but I am going to ask it anyway. Ooh. There are certain people on TV, and you speak to anybody else, they go, I can't stand that person. I'm not going to mention any names. I've got a list. And you think, why, in the name of everything, why are they always being pushed? I mean, you know, there's always the old joke, they must have Polaroids from a Christmas party or something for the executives, because they're just terrible. And they just keep being promoted. I've never understood why. They never listen to the public, do they really? Or do they?
I think that it's really a case of, you know, commissioners being scared about making wrong decisions. And if you've got somebody that you know works, then you use them time and time again. I think that is essentially what it comes down to, because it's not just the talent that are well used, it's the program ideas. There's very few new program ideas, because usually something's described as, well, this is a cross between X and Y, and then you put them together and it becomes Z. So
I was watching Lee Mack. It's really interesting you say that. I was what's it called, 100 to 1 or whatever, I can't remember the show's called. You get 100 people, you end up with 1%. That's
the 1%
club, right? And I remember years ago, during my years at Capital, that Tarrant, the king of the pilots,
I remember it,
because he was trying show after show after show, and they were all stiffs until they got to Millionaire, which of course the rest is history. Thanks to David Briggs and Tarrant's talent. That Tarrant had done that. They'd done that show. The 1% Club was simply, and Lee Mack is, you know, fabulous, just fantastic, a huge talent, great host. But they'd done that with Chris years ago when they got 100 people and whittled it. It was exactly the same, basically the same show, isn't it?
I remember it very well. It was a huge studio and it had scale, and you know, it was.
Didn't Tim Vine do something like that? No, I went to see Tim Vine was doing a show, and it was at the local theatre around here, and it was called Whittle, and it was a similar concept. And Tim Vine is fantastic. I don't think it went very far, but the pilot, if you like, was really good.
I think that was a very early Channel 5 show, that Whittle, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure.
Or did it go further? Maybe I'm wrong.
Tim Vine hosted something on Channel 5
in a local theatre, and of course Tim Vine is just brilliant.
I might be wrong.
Yes.
So might I. I don't know.
How do you see the future? Because you alluded about 15 minutes ago about Jess Conrad. So in that back then, there's 2 channels, and you'd get the Morecambe and Wise Christmas special be getting 28 million, I think 27, 28 million viewers. Numbers that, well, even on the breakfast show on Capital, we had 4 million listeners. Think about it now with the other radio stations. They'd kill for that.
Yeah.
They'd kill for that. The point is, now that you've got a choice of everything you want, how do you see this going forward in, say, 5 years' time?
Well, it's funny because I studied sociology at A level, and I remember there were 2. Stop me if I'm getting too highbrow here, but there are 2 theories. One is called the wall-to-wall Dallas hypothesis, where they described Dallas as a sort of cheap program, although it wasn't, because it was just, sort of soapy nonsense, if you like. Sure. And the other was the endless choice hypothesis. So I think what we've actually got is probably a combination of both. So you've got, to a certain degree, some trashy shows, but really you've got endless choice, and that means that people don't need to watch linear TV in the same way that they used to. Probably very few people do.
And the short attention span as well, because of social media, a really short attention span, and people are just constantly wanting the next. It must be very hard to work in the industry because everyone wants the next big thing, and it's so diluted now. It's really, really hard. I mean, those old school days of 28 million people with 2 channels, that's long gone.
I mean, the BBC on
I remember
Saturday
it well.
night,
The quality threshold, like you said earlier, was there. It really was.
Yeah, it's definitely, times are changing, but of course, consolidated figures is kind of what it's about now, because a drama may only air and get 3 or 4 million or something at the very, very most, and then it'll consolidate to sort of 8, 9, 10 million when everybody's watched it, like Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, for example, which was a landmark drama. The overnights were not astonishingly high, but then everybody watched it on catch up, and actually the catch up figures were higher than the overnight figures. So that's the kind of world that we're living in now. Really, it's not about watching it there and then, it's about having the choice to watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it. So
how do you feel?
Landscape.
You produce one of the, I'm going to say, few shows, I know it's a bit of a brave statement, but that are the whole family could sit down and happily watch, which was always the key to Ant and Dec, is that their appeal that happens kind of pretty rarely, once in a lifetime. I know they're pushing Stephen Mulhern with the best will in the world. He's never going to be Ant and Dec, because Ant and Dec are Ant and Dec, and you can't replicate it. Whatever they've got is indescribable. Likability. You can't buy likability. You can't fake it. They're just who they are. But there's very few, but you produce with your, when this goes wrong with it, the whole family can sit down and just have a damn good laugh, because it's
the endless things going horribly wrong. And I did tot it up recently, and I had produced 136 hours of things going horribly wrong. So that would probably take you, how long would that take you? A week to watch all of them or something?
I'll work it out for you.
Yeah, I've done everything from magic to live TV, award shows, holidays, cruises. Russ, you were on one that they gave a different name to, and then when it aired, it changed names.
Yeah, they changed the name for some unknown reason. Was it when motorways go raving mad or something?
Yes, it was called something.
That would take you to watch all that. That would be 5.6 reoccurring days to watch all of that.
Wow. Thank you for working that out. That's really both interesting and shocking.
The people that you get on, though, they all seem to be very good sports, because they look at it and go, yeah, they get it. They're not going, don't show that, and all that. They enjoyed it.
Lovely. It's lovely. I get very, very excited about booking new people, but also booking people that I really like and respect, because I'm the one ultimately that makes the decision about who comes on and who doesn't. So I mean, if I'm making a 3-hour show, I'll have 35 people on it, so you can soon get through, as I have, 700 plus people have done my shows, which is astounding as well. But yeah, I love picking people that I like and picking, finding people that were famous sort of 40, 50 years ago and saying, right, I'm going to use them, or I'm going to find their clip and get them on to talk about it. We had Nanette Newman. I've had Ian Ogilvy. We've had
to tell you the clip
Darren
that is Darren still alive?
Yes.
Oh my God, he's still alive.
Yes.
Wow.
Darren well into his 80s. See, I only work with 80-year-olds, as you can tell.
Yeah, that's it. It's a niche market. Simon Withington, are you under 80? Don't call him. Here's the thing. The clip that terrified me, in all seriousness, it was one of your recent shows. It was Leslie Judd being slapped off a boat onto a lighthouse. And I was sitting there going, holy God, this poor person. It was really scary stuff.
Oh, and we were thrilled because Leslie Judd has not done any broadcasting, as far as I can tell, for some years. And we found her, and we flew her over. Actually, I think she lives in France now, and so we got her over to talk about that clip. It's a fairly well-known clip from Blue Peter, but the cherry on the cake, of course, is having the person that was involved in it to talk about it. So
it was so frightening.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Loads of people are fascinated by this. Hope you've got time. Do you feed them the lines or show them the clips? Well, I could answer that, but I'm not going to. We'll leave it to the man who creates it and get their views on it from Graham Pack. How does it all work?
What I do is my team and I, because I get stuck in and finding clips, and of course, after having made blooper shows for 25 years, I know where all the bodies are buried. We obviously get given the topic by Channel 5, who commission the show. And sometimes it's a good one, like a nice generic one, like When TV Goes Horribly Wrong, that you could put anything into, like, a daytime show or a quiz show or anything. And other times it's a topic that's very niche and narrow, like When Christmas Goes Horribly Wrong. Well, we're just going to cut out 11 months of the year and just go for December. And it's got to have a Christmas tree and shot. Otherwise, of course, it's not Christmassy. So those ones are really difficult. But we find all of the clips and then obviously go after relevant talking heads who would basically be associated with that topic. So, I mean, Christmas again is a difficult one. I would pick people that maybe had a Christmas show once upon a time, or a singer, or people associated with Christmas. I don't know why I'm using Christmas as an example.
Well, it's a good example because if you're not in you see, this is how dumb I am. I'm thinking, that sounds pretty good. And then I suddenly thought, the moment you said, well, it just cut out 11 months of the year of possible clips, I thought, Jesus, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, it was that was a really
difficult straight away, thinking that's a smart idea. It must be easy. No, of course,
I'm not just filling an hour. That was a 3-hour show, so that's a double feature film essentially. Yeah. So that was a tall order. But to answer the question, we send out the clips in a document which has a sort of a write-up next to a link, and then the contributors all watch the clips in advance, and they get a very stern email from me, as you know, Russ, because you've done one of these shows before, saying you must watch all of the clips, because when we're in studio we don't have any time to show them. Some
very quick.
Talking heads
filming is very quick.
That. Yeah, but I want everybody to talk about everything, so I've got lots of choices in the edit. Some talking head shows will just basically show them there and then, and they may actually film them reacting to a clip, like that one on Channel 4 that was about the things that it shouldn't happen in the 70s or something, and they would get young people that weren't around in the 70s, and then they'd watch the clips and go, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. But that's not my style. I cut the shows really tightly. I want them to feel like you're on a roller coaster and you can't possibly turn over, because there's going to be something great coming next. So there's a sort of art form to anything that looks simple is not that simple, basically. That's my philosophy.
I appreciate that. There's an awful lot that goes into these. To make 1 hour of viewing, there's a hell of a lot.
And I'm making 3.
It's a linear path, but the path is a lot more like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely to have shows on TV, and I really thank Channel 5 for commissioning so many of them, because it came from one show which was called When Magic Goes Horribly Wrong, which I made, and it won an award from Focal. Focal is like the kind of mystery magazine of the week on Have I Got News for You. You never know who they were unless you're in the industry, but it's archive people basically patting each other on the back. And we won an award for When Magic Goes Horribly Wrong.
Brilliant.
And and it's gone from there. And now
how many hours a shot for a 3-hour show? Asks Graham.
So for a 3-hour show, I'll have 35 talking heads. So that's 35 hours of interview. Okay. It goes into a transcription service. In the old days, it was somebody that used to transcribe them. I say the old days, 6 or 7 years ago. Now there's a website that does actually do the transcribing for you. I don't know whether you'd call it AI and whether I'll have fingers pointed at me for that, but it's some clever. They can do it.
This.
Yeah, I know the kind of thing.
On the YouTube channel, when I put it up on the YouTube channel, it comes with a transcription.
Well, it kind of does, because when you said Anton Deck, it came up Anton Deck.
Yes, exactly. Gets things wrong all the time. Exactly. But then my edit producers, who are wonderful people because they're the ones actually in the edit doing the hard work, will have to sift through 35 hours of interviews and then intercut with footage, the footage that we've got.
Well, I'm thinking in a sense it wouldn't matter, because you could have When Transcribing Goes Horribly Wrong.
Yes.
It would all fit with the theme, wouldn't it? It's
only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before we do that. Yes. So
will you come back with? Well, you come back on your own anytime. You know that. And see, this is commercial television. This is what I love. I don't even have to say anything. Look at that.
Let me put that on the screen for you, Simon. So it's Jess Conrad.
Yep.
From Blitz, published by Oak Tree Books, and it's on Amazon.
Blitz.
Yeah.
It's basically it's on Amazon. It's a hardback. It's an ebook, it's a paperback, and it's a really, really good read, if I may say so myself. Thank you very much.
He should be doing. Is he going to do an Audible version?
Well, I'd like him to, but I must just say, Jess is 88, and
you mustn't ask a lady how old they are. You told me that. You told me that.
And I just don't know how long it would take to do it, but I'd love him to do that. And actually,
it doesn't take long. Actually,
does it not?
No, because my daughter did an Audible just done. Like a couple of weeks ago, an Audible version of the Self-Care Club book. And I said, wow, you're going to be gone for weeks. And I think she and her podcast partner did it in 3 days.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, it's a possibility because the publishers are fantastic. I found them through an actor called Dave Barry, who was in Fen Street Gang back in the day. And and I found the publishers and I couldn't be happier with them. Paul Andrews, who owns the company, is a real entrepreneur, and he's got publishing, he's got video games, he's got audio studios. So he's a kind of one-stop.
We like him.
So yeah, he's brilliant.
Like him straight away.
Absolutely brilliant. So I can't believe I found a publisher, because I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't want to go down the self-publishing route. I wanted to do it with a publisher and have them support
self-publishing.
me.
I know some people that self-publish.
It is, the great myth. But what Simon just said, I don't know if you missed it, is the trick is it's not just finding a publisher, but they've got to believe in the project.
Yes.
And they've really got to be supportive. And sometimes you can be with a huge, and this has happened with very well-known authors who I will not name, but I was shocked. Huge publishers, your absolute dream, nothing. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. What happens? Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Thanks a lot. I'd have done a better job myself.
Yeah.
This is funny. Make it last comment. Paul Claridge. One of the best nights ever was at the Cinema Museum with Simon and Jess a few years ago, watching Conga, and then Conga. What the hell? I had to wait in line for that. There we go. And yes. Elizabeth Green saying, well done you, not easy to find a publisher. That is right.
Conga was Jess's film where instead of Fay Ray being taken up the Empire State Building, Jess
I wonder what you're going to say there for a second there. I panicked.
Taken up the Shard. No, taken up the Empire State Building. Jess Conrad, the obligatory pop star, has taken up Big Ben. So it's a real schlock horror film from the 60s. It's a great, so bad it's good, can't believe they made it.
Everybody
film.
Yelling, drop him, drop him.
Yeah, that's exactly what he says. All the men were saying, bite his head off.
Kill him now. It's been such a pleasure. It's thank you for coming on the show. I
Thank
really
you
do.
for giving me the
really
opportunity,
do.
Russ. And
And you are
we've
welcome.
been friends
Yeah,
for a
nice
million
to meet you.
years.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you, Neil, as well. I really, really appreciate it. Maybe you'll come and do one of my shows at some stage.
I've got enough gaffes to fill probably
When
hours.
therapy goes horribly wrong. With Neil, Asa Don Brown, Liz Saul, we get them all.
And great what you're
God,
doing
yeah.
with your radio
Oh,
station,
bless you.
Russ.
Thank you. Yeah,
It's really amazing. Well done.
Thank you so much. Simon, take care. Love to all. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Cheers, my man.
He is
Very quickly,
every bit
Graham
as
Pack.
nice.
Are we
Simon is
very quickly?
every bit as nice. I've known Simon. He's the most charming and helpful and supportive and lovely guy.
He's a good man.
Big fan.
Graham, are we Facebook friends? Because if we are, Facebook friend me or email me on my website, neillong.com, and I'll send you something which will make you laugh based on one of your slightly inappropriate comments earlier.
Slightly.
One step ahead of you, mate. We've already thought of this one, so I'll email it to you.
Okay. I bet it's one of your songs. Right. That is it for today. Longie will be back on Wednesday.
Yeah.
With or without guests, I'm not entirely sure. I leave it up to him unless I can find marvelous people. Thank you for your company. Record numbers again. Really enjoyed it. Hope you had some fun. Got a good start to your week. Neil, as ever, God bless. Take care.
Good fun as always.
Until
Take
we
care,
meet
Russ.
again, which may be
Good afternoon, everyone.
now.
Have a lovely afternoon.
Back on Friday.
Watch out for flying gazebos.
Oh yeah, flying gazebos. Warning.
There goes one.
Warning.